Hi, my name is Daniel Gregersen, and I usually try to show some of the different trainings and materials that make a lot of sense from an integration perspective before I go to Teched, so you don't have to be drilling as deep as I have. I have created a list of all the different courses or sessions that I do find interesting. You can find a link to this in the description. One of the cool things about, I guess it was last year, they introduced this thing about learning journeys. And with learning journeys, you get a good overview of some of the different aspects that make sense in any development process. And they have two learning journeys with integration, INT1 and INT2, depending a little about what are the processes and what's going on in this, what you're viewing. And the cool thing about this is it gives you a good overview of where you need to be starting the content, what is it that you're interested in, and if it's process orchestration, there are some session here that is interesting. I've gone through this, and you have the session catalog, and here you also have the option to filter for integration out of the box or products or something like that. And I've gone through that and filtered a lot of these sessions in. I've then created, or you can export it as an Excel sheet, and you can find this one also in the blog. And this will give you some insights in the sessions that I have selected that I do find most interesting. And here I've just done a uniqueness on the session ID. So yeah, the Keynote is interesting to understand what the SAP strategy is in that perspective, and where integration makes sense. I would assume the hint is in a lot of scenarios, but let's see what the focus of the Keynote is. Then Harsh will be showing something about the integration suite, and I guess giving the 30,000 overview about what everything integration is about. And I think that is interesting. At least to get that kind of perspective on it. I would assume that it will not go too deep into all the different areas, but at least you know where you should be focusing on in this ticket. Craft your API strategy with the cloud platform. I think a lot of companies are also interested in understanding what an API strategy, how are they supposed to handle this, and hopefully this will give some insight. I've added a lot of sessions around workflow, because I do think that it could be interesting about the thing about when you want to figure out what to do with all your NetWeaver BPMs. It could be a good way to leverage these things, and a lot of times that this cross development platform has been PI focus, and I guess with how it's supposed to be working, I would assume that there's also quite a lot of interesting aspects where it does make sense to understand these things. Yeah, the cloud platform is also interesting, understanding what are actually the broader perspective and open the horizon to actually understand what everything is otherwise about. Integration solution advisor methodology is SAP's approach to a little more holistic about creating an architecture for what's going on with integration. And I think this really makes a lot of sense to understand where do we actually want to make any kind of integration, or how we're supposed to create this integration. And yeah, we got some workflow sessions, some success factor integration with cloud platform integration. The process orchestration roadmap, understanding a little what's going on in this is interesting. And the Cloud Platform Integration Suite roadmap. There is a session, an ASOC. I'm looking forward to hear Mike talk about his cloud platform vision and the what he have experience with customers about how it is to actually use this workflow session. Then we'll cover some about the intelligent suite from and integration. What's actually how is I would assume this is how SAP will create the global integration part. This cloud integration automation service does look interesting. The purpose of this is, instead of having all of these documents that you need to go through, what I think some of the prefixes of pre-ideas about this was that you would select any of these pre-delivered services, and it will then create a bunch of things in your workflow or inbox that users could then go through, and it will create something about the different roles you have. And then users could actually go through this and configure ERP to Salesforce scenario and figure out who needs to be administrators and create these different things. So instead of someone having to go through this PDF document with all the different steps, and they would be kind of automated, and you could actually see who needed to do this. And this is a hands-on, so that will be interesting to try out. Master data is one of the things that's also a bit interesting, and they got the business partner master data service, and I would assume that that would be something that will be covered in this, where how that is actually going to happen and what's going on in it. The open connectors, and then it has something about some a cloud integration advisor or cloud platform integration advisor services, how that works. Simplify your integration. That does sound pretty interesting. I think this is a meetup session, so I guess it's about sharing what's going on. Then we got some a use case here, how Lowe's use cloud platform integration, run enterprise grade integration. Now obviously I don't know what all of these things, if they would actually be interested and anything like that, but I do from a title it does look interesting. I haven't been through the full part of it. I guess event-driven integration is also one of the interesting things. What's actually going to happen here, and I think from a peer perspective, it's something that we haven't done much with. But I guess in a cloud world, if you can do event-driven, it can solve a lot of your needs. I had a lot of challenges with SuccessFactors implementation, where I needed to do querying of statuses, and if I could get events for everything that would change, it would simplify that a great deal. API management, customer use cases and best practices. I think, what's actually going on with API management, how people are using it, does make a sense. Cloud platform integration is interesting, and how you can assign these REST APIs. I guess in an SAP landscape, and I guess maybe that's just because I'm a little interested in this continuous development and what they have. I think this is Basic Technologies that have created this session on this. And I guess the RPA, Robotics Processing, is also interesting. And from an integration perspective, I guess that in a lot of cases you can actually do something with bots instead of having to fill in these manual things. hybrid platform for your integration, also were interesting. And I think that is what we will see, that you would not see any customers go full CPI or full PI in the next foreseeable future. So I think most will, or some would, but I think some would be using both these platforms. And I think if you have a good understanding of how this could work, then this would be really beneficial. So I hope that this session would be really interesting to you. One of the other things is I'm trying to organize some different meetups with people with integration focus. So if you're interested in that, there's also a link in the sign up here. You can just pull in your name and email and where you'll be, and then I'll try to arrange some meetups both before and during the event, so you can get to talk more about SAP integration and what you're doing in that perspective. So yes, I hope you like this video. If you do, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe. That really means a lot to me. And thanks for watching.